Hey, what's going on, guys? Pete here with MixBetterNow.com and LearningToMix.com. I hope you're all doing well. Today I want to talk a little bit more about Michael Brauer and some really cool things that he does to his vocals.
What's up? This is Steven Slate. You are watching Mix Better Now.
All right, so not too long ago, I did a video called How to Brauerize Your Vocals. I will put a link in the description below. Make sure you check that one out. But most of you guys know that I'm a really big fan of Michael Brauer. I'm a huge fan of the way that he mixes, and specifically the way that his records sound. They're amazing. I love listening to records that he's mixed, even if I don't like the band. You know what I mean? Just because it's a really inspiring experience to listen to that stuff. So because he is, in fact, one of my favorite mixers, I'm constantly out searching around the web, seeing if there's any information out there, you know, as to what he does, how he works, what his studio's like, all that good stuff. And I recently came across a cool interview, and he was talking a little bit more about his vocal mixing process. So this video is kind of going to piggyback off of the last video I did, which was called One Track, Two Sounds, kind of talking about taking, comping a track and chopping it apart. And what Brauer was talking about is how when mixing, he will always separate the verses from the choruses on his desk because he mixes on a big SSL. But let's take a look here at my mix view and the edit window here. I'm just going to scrunch this down a little bit so you guys can see. So if we take a look, right, you're going to see V1 verse, V2 verse. V1 just stands for vocal 1. V2 is vocal 2. So I've went ahead and I've split this into verses and choruses, and then instead of setting up a send and return, I am doing quite a bit of parallel processing on this second track here. We'll go into that in a second. Let's just take a listen. I'm in the middle of mixing this tune. Listen to the vocals. Everything is coming here to this one bus so I can ride the volume. Check it out.
Say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And I just wanna try. Nights fade, plans change, promises get swept away. The words said I never thought we'd say before. You can't change and rearrange the thoughts in my head. And I've changed and you're not noticing. I never wanted to feel. Just wanted to say it's a push and a pull, a trip, then a fall. The chances are those are headlines, they're not stars.
These southern stars keep me going for miles and miles and miles.
It's a push and a pull, a trip, then a fall.
All right, so you guys get a little flavor of what we are working with here. Now, here's the concept of what Michael was talking about in addition to separating the verses and the choruses. The whole concept behind doing this is that he likes to mix the verses and the choruses separately and differently. That's something that I've done for a while. It was really refreshing to hear him kind of echo the same sentiment. So let's sort of dive into this technique and see why this is something that we'd want to do. I'm going to read a few pieces here that I sort of jotted down from Brauer specifically. And he says this, I put a compressor across the verse and the chorus. And here's the key, guys. It's not really about compression, but it's about the sound of these compressors that give it the desired attitude. Now, he uses the word attitude a lot, which I think is important here. Just keep that in mind as we're going along. He also says, this gets the verse and the chorus to sound really unique and right for that vocalist. And then he says, maybe the compressor in the verse is very bright, but because he or she is singing low, it brings out a great quality. but once they get to the chorus, it sounds harsh. So I move over to a different compressor. Brilliant stuff. All right, and then he says, furthermore, these are all generally tube compressors that I'm using, so I'm not depending on EQ to get my sound. I'm depending on the tone of the transformers and the tubes. And then he just talks about how sometimes the compressors aren't even really compressing. So if you guys watched my other video talking about Brauerizing your vocals, how he mults everything out to 5 tracks or 5 compressors and does sends and returns, this is sort of echoing that sentiment of using compressors for tone and for attitude. All right, so let's kind of dive in here, and I'll show you what I have set up, why, and sort of how you guys can take this on board and try it out in your own mixes. So like I said, we have our first, regular vocal track here. This was just one track I had going all the way through, which was a vocal comp. So there were parts that were put together from multiple performances. So I'm just going to solo this right now. We'll play from the second verse.
Say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And I just wanna try not.
Okay, so what I have here is these are all going to this bus that I labeled Matt, because all his vocals are coming to this bus, but I've also chosen to add my effects right here. Now all I'm using is a little bit of plate verb via an EMT 140. I'm using a Neve RMX 16 for a little bit of ambient verb, and then I have a little bit of slap delay on here. Now what's cool is by separating the verse and the chorus, it allows us to change up the effects or the desired effect, that we want. So we don't have to do any wild automation. I happen to be using the same things over here on the chorus, but for example, if in the chorus section I wanted to change from the slap to a quarter note delay, and instead of a plate, I wanted to go to a hall reverb and something else, okay? It would be really, really easy to do this by separating the verse from the chorus. So then what I do after I separate the verse and the chorus here is I duplicate the track, and on the second one here, so vocal 1 verse, vocal 2 verse, and on this second track, I'm treating this like my parallel compression bus, but I just haven't set up a send and return. So I'm doing pretty extreme compression on here, and it sounds like this.
Say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And
So it's quite a bit darker. It's very compressed sounding. Again, here's vocal 1.
say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up.
And the concept is what I like to do is blend these two sounds together, because the first vocal was a little bit brighter, a little bit thinner. So I kind of take care of that area of my EQ. And then when we blend them,
say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And
so it sounds really big, beefy, and fat. I love it. And I purposely didn't put any effects on the parallel or the duplicated track because I want it to be dry. I just wanted to add some nice low girth, heft, whatever buzzword you want to put in there. Let me show you what I've done in regards to the compressors to sort of coax different tones out of these different parts. I went ahead and I have a 2-inch tape here on verse 1, so I'm just using a Studer. Tape is something I'll very commonly do. Just a heads up on the VMR here. All I'm using is the VCC, so there's no EQ or compression up here. This is just for the console emulation, okay? So after that, I'm just taking out a little bit of low end here with a filter, just a little cut around 200, nothing crazy. Now the first compressor that I've chosen to come to here on the verse is going to be the 1176. I'm a huge fan of serial compression. I like some of the brightness you get out of an 1176, how it can sound snappy and aggressive. So for me, when the verse is a little bit more subdued and laid back, I find that this compressor really allows it to excite that a little bit, to give it that attitude, so to speak.
Say it loud, no one else is speaking up. Say it loud, no one else is speaking up. Say it loud, no one else is speaking up.
So there I can really hear the audio hitting that transformer and getting a cool tone out of it. After this, we're going into an LA2A, so some serial stuff. But okay, here is our tube compressor getting audio sent into that transformer through those tubes. We're not doing a whole lot of heavy lifting with this, but here's how it sounds.
Say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And I just wanna try. Nights fade, plans change, promises get swept away.
So I would say on average here, I'm doing about anywhere from 0 to 5 dB of compression. And this is tonally what I like from this, okay? I'm using these compressors, yes, to compress. All compressors are gonna compress. But what these are doing is these are sculpting the tone for me in a really pleasant way. Now what I've done on the duplicated track here, it's just a little bit different. So I'm using a different tape machine here. I'm using the Oxide. Again, it's 2-inch, 15 inches per second. Then all I'm doing is filtering out the bottom here. So there's no cut. So this is gonna be a little bit darker, a little bit warmer, right? The other one's a little bit brighter. And then I'm using the Fairchild 660 and I'm crushing it pretty hard.
Say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And
so it's dry, and then when I blend it again with the first track,
say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And I just wanna try. Nights fade, plans change, promises get swept away.
All right, so now let's take a look at the chorus. Now the chorus changes quite a bit. So again, the verse, it's lower, it's a lot more chill, it's a lot more laid back.
Slow down, I can barely keep up. Laugh loud, we don't seem to laugh enough. And I'm proud, baby, but my skin's not tough. And
all right, so different from our chorus. Here's chorus 1.
It's a push and a pull. It's a trip, then a fall. Chances are those are headlights, they're not stars.
All right, so very different from the verse. Now let's check out what I did on here. So here is vocal 1 for the chorus by itself.
It's a push and a pull. It's a trip, then a fall.
So what I decided to do on the chorus was to make it a little bit warmer with these compressors here. I kind of stuck specifically with tube stuff. So again, I'm using the Studer here, just a little bit of 2-inch tape. Same EQ because this was the EQ curve that I felt worked, but now I have different compressors on here. So the first compressor up is going to be this really amazing Acme Opticom XLA3. Guys, I love this compressor. It's just basically a tube. It's an optical tube compressor, okay? And we could actually bypass the compressor section and just run audio through, which is going to be this amp setting over here. But we are using it to compress. I set it to faster attack and release time.
It's a push and a pull. It's a trip, then a fall. Chances are those are headlights, they're not stars.
And what's cool about the fast attack and release time on the Acme is it adds a little bit of grit to the vocal. It kind of crunches a little bit in a really cool way. So totally dig that. And then I'm following that up with the Shadow Hills. Now what's cool about the Shadow Hills, we're not doing a lot of compression with this one, but we get 2 types of compression in this box. We have an optical compressor over here, and then we have a discrete VCA over here. We can also change transformer types from nickel to iron to steel. So this thing is an absolute tone machine. Again, not a lot of compression, but we're getting a lot of tone out of this. Check it out.
It's a push and a pull. It's a trip, then a fall. Chances are Those are headlights, they're not stars.
Now, what's cool, like I said, about the Shadow Hills is in the real box, there's a ton of transformers and tubes in this thing. So it's just a really, really nice tone box. The meter on the left is metering the optical compressor, and the meter on the right is taking care of the VCA. So now if we go over here and we look at the parallel track, the duplicate, everything is the same, except I'm going back to the Fairchild here, and this is what I'm choosing to really squish this guy with.
It's a push and a pull. It's a trip, then a fall. Chances are those are headlights, they're not stars.
You know, we're doing around 10 dB of compression, maybe 15, somewhere in there. And the reason I'm using the Fairchild is because it is probably the most tubular compressor out there. I think it has something like 20 tubes in it, 12 or 13 transformers. I could be off on that, but it's a very, very large count, a very large number. Again, one side is a little bit darker, a little bit kind of more bass heavy, and the other side is brighter. When you bring them together,
it's a push and a pull. It's a trip, then a fall. Chances are.
All right, a little bit of attitude in there. Now, if we go to the verse, it's going to get a little bit brighter here.
No one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And
now, the reason that I didn't use the Acme and the Shadow Hills on the verse is because they are singing lower, so inherently because of the pitch, it just wouldn't sound as punchy to me, and it wouldn't cut quite as much. So by chopping up the verse and the chorus and doing my processing all on here with different compressors, I'm really able to get a very, very cool, fat, vocal tone that cuts, but is warm all at the same time. Just the last thing to sort of make a note of is I have all 4 of these coming to this bus, like I said, because I like to ride the vocal the whole time. I'll probably do a couple automation passes when I'm done just to get the volume where I want. But on this bus here, I'm sending everything into an Ampex, just a little bit of 1/2-inch tape, again, just to give it some more tone, a little bit more natural compression, if you will.
say it loud, no one else is speaking up. In a crowd, no one else is stepping up. A generation, no one really cares enough. And I just wanna try. Nights fade, plans change, promises get swept away.
All right, and then a chorus.
It's a push and a pull, a trip, then a fall. Chances are, it's a push and a pull, it's a trip, then a fall. Chances are, those are headlights, they're not stars.
All right, guys, so there you have it. That is something that Michael Brauer takes on board to his own mixes. It's something I like to do, and hopefully it's something you will check out for yourself. All right, guys, so that's it for me. My name is Pete with MixBetterNow.com. If you guys dug this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell icon next to it, throw me a thumbs up, and don't forget to grab your free audio swag bag down below. Click on the link. You get all kinds of free goodies, free multi-track sessions, free mix templates, free drum samples, all kinds of stuff. Just want to say thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.
What's up? This is Steven Slate, and you are watching Mix Better Now.